Hello, everybody, and welcome to Positive Fandom. I'm your host, Artem, and this is my The Last of Us HBO Max TV show, Season 1, Episode 1 pilot review. I'm so excited to be doing this review for you all because, as you know, I have been a longtime gamer of The Last of Us. It was maybe and perhaps the best game that I have ever played. It certainly did change my mind about what was possible in gameplay. And guys, I'm not the best gamer in the world. I knew that this game was designed for all levels. And so, although the game was what would be considered a let's say zombie horror game, it certainly was something that even I could play with my limited gaming abilities. And so, I always gave a huge amount of credit to the developers, especially Neil Druckmann, for creating a game like this that was available and open to anybody who wanted to play. Now, last night was a very special night for me. It was the debut of The Last of Us. As I've said before, I've been waiting for this game forever. Ever since I played it um, on my PlayStation 3. Um, it really had a huge impact on me. And, I have to say that there is something to be said for the desire to continue this series and to make it into either a television show or a movie. So initially, if I recall, we were told it was going to be made into a movie, and we waited quite some time, and a lot of different things happened from then to now, from 2013 to 2023. Gee, that is 10 years, isn't it? Just waiting to see what would happen with this show. And I have to say that after watching last night's premiere episode with a live watch party right here on Positive Fandom, um, I just have to say I was completely blown away. My expectations were absolutely met in a way that I was not expecting. Now, adapting something like The Last of Us, which was a highly successful video game franchise, was not going to be an easy achievement. There was a lot of expectations on this and a lot of questions about the casting and some changes. And how would it make any sense when you go from the game now to a brand new adaptation for a television show? These are all concerns and rightful concerns, I think, for anyone who was a big fan of the show. And so I did want to mention that since this was the best video game that I've ever played, as I mentioned, there's a huge amount of expectation on this. How different would the story be? Would they be able to pull this off? Would we see things that reminded us of The Last of Us? Would it sound the same? Would it look the same? These were all major concerns. And I have to say that one of the first things was that I think that they did get the casting right. I think that the choice of Pablo Pascal here, Pedro Pascal, excuse me, and Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie, was a great choice. You guys probably remember Bella Ramsey from Game of Thrones. I kept saying that she killed a troll. Apparently, it was a White Walker, but she was one of the important characters in the story, and she was really fantastic in it. So I do have to give her that. It was not an easy show to come up and suddenly become a star for. Um, the other thing I was going to say is, as I mentioned before, um, the story starts off. A lot of concern was, would it be like the video game? And I have to say, I don't think it could have been any closer than what it was. It was incredibly similar to the video game, almost to a point where there's one scene where I knew something had to happen, and it happened exactly the way I remember it. Very cleverly done. Obviously there were casting changes, and here we see Pedro Pascal. This one is kind of a, I'm not going to say a full spoiler, but let's just say I'm going to show some photos from that first pilot episode. So if you don't want to see any of those pictures, maybe you shouldn't necessarily, be watching this. And maybe I'm just going to go ahead and put something in here so that you know that there might be possibly some spoilers. I don't want anybody to be disappointed because we're seeing stuff and you weren't expecting to see anything. So I put a banner at the bottom, and you should be seeing it now. But what I was going to say is, here we have one of the most important parts of the story. This Joel, who plays this man who has a beautiful daughter, and she unfortunately experiences what it's like for this giant, sort of infection to affect the entire earth. And so, if you were to look at the video game frame by frame, you would see maybe 99.9% similarity of what happens. Even the dialogue, we get to see where a little bit more, however, in this pilot, because we have more time. And this is not something that could have been adapted very easily without taking the time to show us what's going on if you are not playing that video game. So there you can see Pedro Pascal with his daughter. And if it's an emergency situation, they are on the run at some point. And there is just like in the video game, there's a jump in time, and we came to realize that there is an outbreak. So I think in regards to showing us the devastation of what happened, they do a great job here. We needed to see the same intensity and the same dedication to how the video game was made. And we do see that here in the adaptation on HBO Max. So I have to give them credit for making one of the best adaptations of a video game I have ever seen. And it's not a surprise. Druckmann wrote such a fantastic video game in general, that it's not a surprise that the story would come across as being as impressive as the video game, guys. And here we see these signs on the wall. It looks exactly like it did in the video game, which was very comforting to me. It's the Fireflies message that says, when you're lost in the darkness, look for the light. Like it says it that way in the video game, which I enjoyed. This was, yeah. How do I feel about seeing a game adaptation on the screen in live action? I'm pleasantly pleased and surprised by what they've done. This is, of course, some of the infection and everything that goes on in the story. So there is that element of it, and that's not a necessarily a shocker here. Here's another Firefly sign on the wall. But I think that Pedro Pascal does a good job here of playing this father who has suffered a loss and now has to go on. And he has this quest in the story, and so does the main character. So we know the motivations right from the get-go. There's no wondering what's going on. As very similarly in the video game, we know those motivations of these characters. So we're not surprised or shocked by what to expect. We know right away what this is going to entail. So that is another refreshing thing. Now, of course, since it is a video game, we are presented with this storytelling element, and they did a great, based on a video game, the storytelling element doesn't get lost in this live adaptation. And we see a lot of situations that will propel us forward in the story. So there's no moment where that doesn't happen here. We learn a lot by the first maybe 20 or 30 minutes into the story. It's really a refreshing view of something that is quite devastating. And maybe perhaps there was some fear of it not being able to actually be a good live action story. So far, I think it's the best live action video game adaptation I've ever seen in my life. I also want to say that, yes, I am partial. I do love this story, but if you've never played the video game, have no fear. You will enjoy this pilot. This is a fantastic version of it. It's almost 99.9% similar to the video game. And we see a lot of relationships and things that I loved in the story. I loved the gameplay. I loved the way the place looked and how everything looked in the video game. The music was amazing. The composer who composed for the video game is also going to be composing here in the television program. And of course, my biggest attraction to the game was the relationship between father, this father, played by Pedro Pascal, and eventually between that of the young girl, Ellie. Now, this is his daughter here. That's not Ellie, who we're seeing, but eventually things do develop between, of course, he loves his daughter here. And I'm not going to go too much into the details of what happens, but at some point, many years later, this character develops a relationship that makes the gameplay incredibly satisfying and impactful. And, I have to tell you, I just absolutely love what they did with it. We end up with a situation where we're enjoying this relationship as much as we are enjoying everything else that happens. I think that seeing these relationships between fathers and daughters is important. Seeing a positive male role model is important. Joel is an amazing character. That also attracts me to him, and it attracted to me to playing the game, everybody. I still recommend playing The Last of Us Part 1 if you are interested in a fantastic horror game. This really is maybe one of the best, if not the best, in my opinion. So do consider, if you have a chance to play it, go ahead and do it. But if not, certainly watch The Last of Us um, on HBO Max. Um, you will not be disappointed in this. You will be pleasantly surprised by what they are offering. You will also be interested and hooked almost instantly in this particular adaptation in a way that I was hoping for, and was pleasantly surprised that they delivered, guys. They delivered on this. I give it a 10 out of 10 because I haven't even seen anything as cool as this in a while. It really has given me so much enjoyment to see this on the screen. So I recommend it highly. I think if you're looking for something that is going to satisfy a relationship sense where you feel that you need to see a lot of story building, a lot of character building, you're going to get it here in The Last of Us. If you want to see action, you're going to get it here in The Last of Us. If you want to see post apocalyptic stuff, you're going to get it here in The Last of Us. So there's a lot this video game and television show has to offer very similarly. And you're also going to have the advantage of the soundtrack from the original composer who gave you that really cool feeling in The Last of Us, guys. So please don't miss out on this one. I know that it's kind of been a bumpy road with a lot of this game with Naughty Dog, but don't miss out on this. You will be pleasantly surprised. So I did just want to throw it out there. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me for this 10 minutes of my review of The Last of Us, episode 1, season 1. You will not be disappointed, guys. I can't wait for you to see it. You're going to love it. And with that, everybody, always remember to please be kind. Take care.